adjust it here. Let's make sure we're facing the right way. Alright, back with another episode. Today we're going to be talking about... Hold on, let me get situated here. Today we're going to be talking about the allegory of the cave by Plato. So this is a story of a group of people that live in a cave, and I've seen a diagram of the cave in the story, and it's basically I don't have space to draw it on here, but it's basically like they live in the bottom portion of the cave and the entrance to the cave is above them. And so light does shine in, and when the light shines in, it hits these rocks, and that kind of like casts a shadow on their ceiling, and they worship the shadows because they're odd shapes that change throughout the day and disappear at night. And so they worship these shadows, and they live their life in the cave, and their entire existence kind of revolves around these shadows. And one person finds another exit or entrance to the cave, or maybe he goes through the top one. I'm not sure which it is, but he gets out of the cave and he finds the real world, and he, explores a little bit and realizes like what their life actually has been, and that they're stuck in a cave, and that the things in the ceiling it's just shadows made by some rocks above, and that there's an entire life outside of the cave that they could live that would be much better for them than inside of the cave. And so obviously he comes back to tell them. And when he comes back and he tells them, they beat him to death and they kill him. And that story is supposed to mimic gotta be careful how I word this here. To mimic the destructive person's action towards good change, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say in one sentence, but basically it just goes to show that like some people want to worship their false gods, and they don't care to hear that they're false gods, and some people are fine just living in the cave until they die. And so it's tough, but you kind of have to, you can't always go back into the cave. You can't always go back and show everyone else the way, because they might turn on you. And they will turn on you. I mean, that's happened so much in society. It lines up also with the sin of philosophy that mankind has had. I mean, I've talked about this in a few other podcasts. Socrates, the famous philosopher, he has some great quotes. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but he's got amazing quotes, and he was charged at, I think he was 77. He was super old, and they charged him with impiety and poisoning of the youth. And he was a philosopher. He had something that was of benefit to young men, and something that put a fire in young men, and the government executed him at 77. Like, he didn't even, and that just goes to show the power of his words. It's like he was so old for that time period, and they still executed him. So, and then it was about 80 years later, Aristotle was charged with the same thing. And Aristotle fled, I think. So Aristotle didn't die, but they charged him with the same thing, and they were going to do the same thing to him. And so it's interesting to think about, like if you find your way out of that cave, just run. Just get as far away from it as you can. And eventually someone, if someone really wants to get out, they'll notice that you're missing. And they'll find a way out as well. But it's like, it just seems like you just can't go back into the cave at any cost, because they killed him. Like, they didn't even, they beat him to death. The second he was like, that your gods are false, you're worshiping. And it's like something as ridiculous as shadows on the ceiling, because it's like, I bet when he got out of that cave, he was like, what the fuck? Like, shadows on the ceiling? These are our gods? But they killed him. And so, it's like everyone has their boundaries, and everyone has their different morals. And sometimes some people don't want to change theirs at any cost, no matter if they're right or wrong. And it's hard to deal with as, even like this podcast. It's like, this is an idea I had that could, that would make not just me better, but everyone listening better, because I plan to just keep going with this format, and it's going to have to push me to learn new things and explore new topics and new ideas and new beneficial ways of seeing life. And so, like, that is it's so niche, it's like not everyone's going to like it. Not a lot of people are going to want to listen to it, and that's fine. But I just want to reach to that specific sector of individuals who just want to be better in every way, and I want to grow with that group of people, and, hopefully eventually make some sort of like Patreon, which what I have right now, there's like a group chat in there, but something similar to that, where we just have like a bunch of like-minded people trying to build off of each other. A bunch of people who ran from the cave and didn't look back. But yeah, I don't have much for this one. I'm pretty sure I just wanted to bring that idea to your attention, and maybe look into the Plato and Aristotle, and also, speaking of Plato and Aristotle, before we finish up, that's the same thing is happening to Andrew Tate. They canceled him for poisoning the youth. That's literally, they used almost the same verbiage. It's crazy. But they canceled him for poisoning the youth, and it's just like, for some reason, it's crazy because it's like these people pour such a positive message. I feel like it's just actually a lack of trust in other humans that we have, because it's like, well, I'm preaching that as I'm saying, don't go back into the cave, but like the people at the top, the people who have a lot of power, and the people who get to push agendas, which there absolutely is some sort of group like that. Like the way Andrew Tate was canceled overnight absolutely proves that there's somebody who's able to get a hold of, because he got canceled from everything, like Airbnb, Uber, DoorDash. They kicked him off of like everything. He can't fly with some airlines, I think, like everything. And so the fact that someone or some group of people was able to get into contact with all of the heads of these people and ban him from everything almost overnight goes to show that there's some people, who just have to make a few phone calls to get whatever they want done. And so it's like, why would they not want young men to be strong and, like just strong and caring and loving and dutiful and disciplined? And, it's like, why do we not want that? Like, because ultimately, the way I see it is, if we all gave our life up to each other, and that's what love is. So the way that I try and live is through the family that I hope to be a part of one day, right? So I want to be a good father, a good husband, like those goals will set you straight in every realm of life. Because to be a good father, you got to provide for your kids. You got to be strong. You got to be, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of features that come with being a good father, to where you can, not just be a good father in one way and a shitty father in another way, You, like, when you aim to be a good father, it makes you improve a lot of different things. And so, hold on, I don't know where I was going with this. I have no idea where I was going with this. Oh, okay. If we gave up ourselves to each other, right? If we all lived like that, right? Then that would extend to, like at work, you want to be a good coworker. In society, you want to be a good person. It goes out and out and out, and that's what love is, and that's what the Tao is as well. And so it's like, if we let that go around, we would all benefit, But it's like some people seem to fear that if that all went around, that they would lose what they have, And so, but it's like, I think it's completely the opposite. I think it's just fear that's holding us back. And the same thing that applies to a lot of things, It's like we're so scared to collapse unto people, and to be what they need, that nobody ever gets what they need, Because everyone has a little bit of everyone has a little bit of, what they have to do. And it's interesting because it's one of those things where it's like the only option is surrender, Like with the allegory of the cave, like the only option in that situation is to just listen to the one who escaped the cave and just let him tell you what's going on out there, because he has more experience in it than anybody, But it's like, when you get that kind of jolt for change, for some reason we just have the nature to just cling to things, and to make them like our own. I feel like we do that with religion a lot. Like, we don't like people attacking our religion. Like, people would defend Jesus Christ, but it's like, or people just take things, Jesus Christ is a bad example, but like the devil, right? Like, we attach ourselves so much to the idea of the devil that like we've brought him into real life, and now he's this thing that we can possess hatred for because just of like the way we think, and it's something that we cling to it just to kind of have some sort of ground to be able to say, no, I don't want to go that way. Right. But it's like, that's the complete opposite of the Taoist message. The Taoist message is to just surrender and let go and just go with the flow. And like, everything's going to be like, there's nothing ever to worry about. And I remember there's this Alan Watts quote that says, man suffers because he takes seriously what God made for fun. And that's just that. I mean, I don't know. It's like lightheartedness could get us much further. Listening can get us much further. Being willing to be like, what I am. Being willing to debate. Being willing to, say, I think that's wrong. And, and just be able to accept maybe it's wrong, but this is why I think it's right, and just be able to work things out as people, and just be able to get everybody out of the cave, right? So just be wary of the situation you're in and know that sometimes people want to stay in the cave, and they will kill you if you defy their gods, right? But yeah, I guess that's it. I'm gonna leave you with that. Coming soon will be, I'm gonna go over, the 48 laws of power. And these are good. This book really opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I might record that right after this, but we'll see.